Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So, new year, new build, and this build right here brought to you by GAMDIAS. So, they were actually nice enough to send over their new 2020, just came out, Apollo M2 case. Now, this case, I'm going to go more in detail on this case in a minute, but let's go ahead and talk about what we're putting into this thing. They also sent over their 240 AIO. It's their M1A. It's a 240R, so it's full ARGB. Again, I'll go more into that when we start going over the case. We're using a Z370A for powering the 9400F, as well as putting in a new 2070 Super with a EVGA 850 G3, so full modular. Now, with this, forgot about the RAM. We're going to be using T-Force Deltas. They are RGB RAM. It's going to be 3000. They're two 8 gig sticks to give you 16 gigs on this. Now, with all this is going to be doing a whole nother build for me. So, again, new year, new build. So, let's go in and start talking about this case. Let's get to it. All right, guys. So, let's go and talk about this case. Again, like I said, it is the Apollo M2. With this case, it does come stock with two 200mm ARGB fans. Now, there is no other fans in there, so definitely, since I'll be using the 240 AIO, which also has the same fans from them, it is going to be looking pretty neat. So have this whole thing ARGB out. Now, let's talk about the case. With the case, as you see, it does have some open edges, so that way it can get airflow in. The only thing I have to say with this is that it doesn't have a dust filter right here, so it is open, and that can tend to be a pretty big issue when you're thinking about dust. But if you keep up with routine case maintenance, I don't think you'll have that big of an issue. So let's go ahead and talk about the AIO. The AIO that this is supporting is you have 3 headers up front. You have one USB 3.0, 2 USB 2.0s, a headphone and mic, the LED button, so that way you can change the LEDs on the fans, as well as a fan speed button, and then you obviously have your power button. Now all these actually they're surrounded by RGB lights all the way around. So if you're looking for a case that is, one, great for airflow obviously, but also full on RGB, you look no further than the Apollo M2. So let's talk about a little bit more about the case. Now with this, up top, it houses, you got a magnetic dust filter, so you actually can mount up top 240 rad, or two, if you don't want to use a AIO up top, you actually just put two 120s or two 140 fans up top, so 280s up top. Now, one neat feature with this case, I like to say, is that the back right here, obviously you have the cap. They are not captive, so they are full come out. They take off the side. This kind of holds it, but there's this pretty neat mechanism. Go see if I can turn this thing around for you. As you can see right here, it's a press and slide. So what this does, see if you can see it come out on the side. What you end up doing is you just press it and it pops the glass out just like that. Now with this, it is not a swinging glass. So once you actually lift it out, it does have little hinges at the front right up here. So I'll go ahead and move it out, what it does. And you can see that it does have the hinges right up front. We'll go ahead and put this off to the side. And let's go ahead and talk about the actual case itself. So inside the case, what you're actually looking at right here, you can actually mount on here. Looks like right here you can put one 120, another 120 fan, or if you have some hard drive mounts, you can put them right there as well. You have 7 drive bay expansions, so just like normal on a regular ATX case. And when you think about the size in this right here, as you see the standoffs that they have, comes already with the pre and standoff. Now these are only for a micro ATX, but you can obviously see the holes right here for the ATX. So compatibility with this would be ITX, mini ATX, and ATX motherboards. So in this case, we are going to be using an ATX motherboard, and they actually have a really good diagram right here, so that way you can see it. Now, like I said in the front, you have the 2 ARGB 200mm fans. Up top, again, you can put up to a 240 AIO, or each one houses 2 120mm fans or 2 140mm fans. And in the back, you can either put a 120 or a 140 fan. Now up front, if you don't want this 200 mils, you actually can take it out, and this actually, since it does go all the way down, it does have full support for 240, 280, as well as 360, sorry, 360 rads that you can put in there for AIOs, or you can put 3 120s. So, but for the case for this build, I am going to be keeping the two 200 mils, which I think are phenomenal. So as we move down, you got your power supply shroud, which is, it's pretty much, if you don't have one in 2020, a case with that, you're kind of missing out. But you got this nice little holes. These are these new cutouts that they're actually putting in these power supply shrouds are actually pretty neat, because all the new power supplies, some of them, you know, you look at Asus and even Cooler Master, they actually have ones that have the digital on the side. So that's pretty neat to have. So that obviously in this case, we're going to be using the EVGA one. It's not digital or anything like that. So, but if you wanted to put some RGB strips or something like that in there, definitely have that glowing come out of there. It looks pretty good. And what's really neat is it does have a little recess right here. So the glass would come all the way up to right here. So if you wanted to put an RGB strip there, that's actually a pretty decent amount of room. Oops, sorry, there you go, a little bit of room. Obviously you got there is no grommets, so it is just open holes for these. And so, I mean, that kind of is not a deal breaker, but you know, aesthetically pleasing. I prefer grommets. But moving on, as you see, like I said in the beginning, you can put houses 2 120s if you want to put fans right here, or if you want to put hard drives in there, that wouldn't be a big deal. This nice honeycomb design holds that pretty well. So as you see up top, it does have a little edge up here for you, so it's not really good for picking up, and it's not flat, so it does have a pretty decent new kind of design. Again, walking around to the back, more of the wonderful non-captive screws that go on there. And it's just like any other case, you know, once you have those off, the back, well, in that case, the back actually pops off. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and turn this around so you guys can take a look at that. Now, as you can see, it does come with your basic USB 3.0 headers, your USB 2.0s, as well as your HD audio that you'll plug in. And what you got right here is you got your controller for those 2 fans, as well as some empty headers right here that you can add additional fans. Now, one thing to note with this case, as well as with GAMDIAS, is that their fans are they're not a normal 4-pin. So if you look right here, they're actually let's see if I can get in there like that. They're actually looks like a 8-pin, their own proprietary 8-pin. So they actually have that on there. So if you look at some of their fans, especially with the AIO, they actually have their own proprietary header on there. And as you see, the LED switch that's already in there, when you plug all your front IO connectors into the case, you'll see you already put all that in there. Now, it does have, so happy that it has SATA connection instead of Molex. Thank God. And this case is full motherboard controlled, but the only downfall, it is 2020. Most motherboards, if you have a high-end motherboard, you are going to have a 5-volt 3-pin ARGB header. Now, this syncs with Asus, ASRock, MSI, as well as Gigabyte. With Gigabyte, you can use the GDV on there, which is just a 3-pin header that you plug into it, and that actually will control it. So it will be able to use your software if you want to go ahead and control all the fans, just to make everything sync up. It does have a 2.5 drive in the back for your SSDs, as well as you can mount 2 3.5, one on top, as well as one in the drive cage. For our purposes, I always take the drive cage out, but for this, because I have another build, I didn't have that in the beginning shot, but I do have a 3.5-inch drive. It's a Barracuda that's going to go in there, a CK Barracuda 1 terabyte that I'm going to use just to house games. And the SSD we're just going to use is just a Samsung that's going to house just his operating system, and probably just a few pictures that we have. So that right there, that's a big look at the case. Again, looks pretty neat. So what we'll do, I'll go ahead and get the AIO out, let you guys see what that is, and we'll go ahead and get this build started. So stay tuned. All right, guys. So here is the 240R M1A, is the ARGB full 240 AIO. Now, as you can see from the picture, obviously the reservoir actually lights up RGB, and as well as the fans. Now these fans, the way they light up are the same way that in the case that you just saw, those 200 mil fans light up. As you see, dual RGB fans, you have the lighting on the RGB pump. They are addressable. So again, this is also going to utilize a 5-pin header, or you can just plug these up to the back of that inside the case to the actual controller, which then you would plug up to your 5-volt header, your ARGB header, which then can control everything, so everything's in sync. It does have a remote, so which controls fan speed, light speed, brightness, and 55 lighting effect. So that's pretty neat. You don't have to, this isn't a deal breaker if you don't have, you know, a 3-pin header or a 5-volt. So, but another good thing that this has, as you see, just like the case, it is compatible with obviously Asus, RSync, RGB Fusion with Gigabyte, Mystic Light with MSI, as well as the ASRock Sync. So let's go and take a look at what you get. Now, as you see, it does come with the 2 fans. And like I said before, we'll go ahead and take one out for you. With these fans, they are pretty thick, so it is going to be more of a ring style instead of the interior lighting up, as you saw in the front. And as you see, you can see the header right there. That is that 8-pin header that I was talking about. So we're going to move those out to the side. Now here is the controller with the RGB controller. So that is another pretty cool thing. So we'll go ahead and get this out. I'll get everything so that way we can go ahead and look at it all. It's all in pretty much bags. So here's the hardware that you get. Now this actually is compatible with Intel as well as AMD, so 1151 and AM4 sockets. So I can give you more specs. I'll put everything, again, I will put just like normal, I'll put everything in the link down below so you can see everything, what I'm going to be putting into this build. That way if you want to go do this build yourself, you can check it out. Or if you're really interested in getting this case, you can go and check that out too. So I'll go ahead and take everything out and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so it's all out. So what I'll go ahead and do is I'll go over some of the specs again, instead of going into a brief description that I gave you of what actually is compatible with it. As you can see right here, it does have a full list of all the compatible sockets that it will go on. So even the LGA 2066, you got obviously AM4 right up there, and the 11, and in our case, we are using the 1151 socket. So, and as you see, it does show some pretty neat statistics that they have on there, traditional air cooling compared to the AIO. Now, obviously that's relative based on the case, but as you see right here, this is for a 4790K at 100% load. Now, I know older Intels, they tend to put out a lot of heat, but not as much as the older AMDs. So, you know, this is 2020. Obviously, you can see the date on this cooler, but that's neither here nor there. So we'll go ahead and talk about a little bit more. As you see, it does come with the 120 mil fans that it has. It does have the Ace-Tech pump that you see on here. And with this pump, like I said, it does have the controller. Now this is the only PWM header that you actually are going to have. Now there is these are the connectors that you'll get for the pump itself, which are all proprietary, excuse me, not the pump, but the controller that you'll see on here. And this is also, as you can see, it is SATA connector, which is very good. So kudos to them for actually putting in no more Molex. It's 2020, for God's sakes. You definitely want to make sure you got SATA. So again, here's the controller that you have. Now, as you see, you can change it. It's pretty neat. So you actually can put it to where it has, it's going to go out to the side, motherboard, so you can control it with the motherboard. You can turn that off, or you can have it on auto where it will do all the other stuff. Here's all the fan stuff. There's actually a pretty neat, I'll put a diagram that you can have on there. You got the speed, got the modes, you got the power, and then obviously right here you got fan speed, brightness, and the type of color that you have on there. So it's pretty neat. And you know, it's really says something about the company when they actually provide pretty good quality stuff like that, especially when it comes to, you know, a really nice looking case as well as a really good looking AIO. So let's go ahead and talk about the controller. The controller, as you see, it does house on here. You can see you got 3 fans that you can put right there, and on the other side, another 3 fans. It does have a label on it right there, and as you can see what it says, see if you guys see that, that's LEDs. So if you want to put in your LED strip to it, now I'm pretty sure the LED strip that you're going to have to use, you actually can just put one into it. You don't have to have the RGB. So like the ones that I did up top, they actually have that type of connector where you can put it in there. So those will probably work in there, and I actually have a little extra, so I'll probably just really RGB this thing out. Of course, you know how I do on this channel. But on the back, as you see, let's go and turn that around. You got the connector for LED in and LED out, and those would be this connector right here. So this is not by any means going to be an install video, but just showing you what you get with this company, and it's pretty cool. One really neat feature, normally you have these, you're like, well, I guess it didn't come with any 3M tape, magnetic. So one, being the case being steel, definitely that's going to work really well. So I'm going to go ahead and get the building this. Again, I will put all the links in the description for all this stuff. If you guys got any questions about the AIO as well as the case, definitely leave me a comment. But let's go ahead and get building. All right, guys. So, 1, the build is done. 2, had a lot of complications with, I guess, really with the gears, compatibility issues. So, made some changes. One big change is I actually, instead of horizontally mounting, like I said before, I did do a vertical mount. Ended up having to change out the GPU, but I actually am going to be just RMAing that, figured out that I have a faulty GPU, but nonetheless, it turned out really good. I think it's great. Let's go ahead and do the ceremonial peel, which is so nice. Now, one thing I think I forgot to mention is this thing is full tinted tempered glass. So that's another really cool feature with this. And you know, I already took off the one on the front, so there was actually dual one inside. So you got to pull off the front part to get it. So obviously, what I end up doing, I put the AIO up top as well as putting it on the side right there. I have a 140 in the back, so I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like with boot. Like I said, I was going to do an RGB strip all the way around, so it does go all the way around. And as you can see, just to see what the tempered glass on there, I will take it off so you guys can get a better view of it. As you see with the front, like I said in the beginning, these are RGB as well. Everything is connected to the controller. The 200 mil fans. The only thing, like I said before, since there is no dust cover right here, you know, you can, if you got small kids, your stuff's on the ground. 1, they're gonna put their fingers in there, or 2, if you have animals, probably gonna suck in a lot of animal hair and just dust in general. So having the dust filter up top, and maybe, you know, GAMDIAS, they can go ahead and, you know, for a revision, maybe for the M2, I would say definitely put some type of dust filtration right there, so that way you can keep that off. Other than that, the aesthetics look great on this, so that's another big thing. As you guys can see in the case right there, they are open. Again, I'll take it all off. You got ARGB up top. Let's go ahead and take out the glass. I'll give you more of a walkthrough. All right, so now we got the glass off. As you see, I actually have the vertically mounted, the LED strip up right there. So I actually have a 140, just put a black fan. Didn't want to do too much in there, have most of the light coming from the side, but it does put off. I did say I was going to put this little channel right here, was great to put an LED strip in. So like I said, I have it going all the way around, all the way up top as well, as you can see up there. Now, again, this whole thing, it is nice to be able to have this. I mean, it is pushing a good bit of air, and obviously having a 140, it's going to be great. I did do some temps on this. That'll be in another video, but they were just about the same when comparing this to other coolers that I've tested, such as the Scythe Fuma 2, and really another 240. I had a Corsair H100i that I had on there, so this does perform pretty well. So definitely having that, it's a really good cooler, and overall the case in general, I'm really enjoying it. So everything looks really good. You know, I hope you guys like how the build turned out. I'm really enjoying it. So another big thing though that I did want to talk about, the remote. So the receiver's in the back. So this right here, like you can do, usually you push out. Like I said, you can do it with the MB, which is motherboard controlled, or you have auto, which will do it, and you have the speed of the lights. So as you can see right here, that changes how you can see up front, how fast they're going. That's pretty crazy right there. Then you have the different colors that it will do, and it will change it as they move, statics, a whole bunch of different features. So that's one really cool thing. You can slow it all the way down. I'd be here for a good while to figure out, but needless to say, point of all that is there is something for everyone on there. So definitely having that, you know, for what you want to do is something big. You know, if you're looking for something that, you know, gonna be to your taste, your liking, you know, I'd say look no further. If you're looking for a good RGB case, go with something like this. I mean, it's pretty nice. So having all that, that's pretty cool. You know, definitely having the RGB RAM in there, that's definitely a big plus. So that's about it, guys, with the case. I'll go ahead and leave you with some pretty cool B-roll on the case, get you some good shots. But hey, a big thanks to GAMDIAS for sending out the case as well as the cooler. I really appreciate it. I think it came together really well. It's gonna look great on the desk. If you guys are looking for anything that I had in the build, I will have it all in the link down in the description. If you guys like this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you're just stopping by, hey, I appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. And as always, I'm Hyper for Tech, and until next time.